announced that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Morning Coffee. I got my coffee, where is it? Here, locked and loaded, ready to go, because we have to talk about the bear market. And it seems like the bears were right with the 4-year cycle. And on the other hand, it seems they are not right, and something else is brewing and going on. And so I want to take this stream to discuss a little bit the bear versus bull and where we are right now, and what is convincingly a sign of bear market and what is convincingly a sign of non-bear market, right, going on at the moment. So there are the two, I would say that there are the two big parties right now in the crypto space, wherever you go on crypto Twitter or anywhere else, that are claiming one or the other. And I think we should look at what is really behind it, and what we can expect, and maybe also what we can do now. And of course, I want to look also, since the last stream, there has been tremendous news for Ecomy and VeVe, so I also want to look at that a little bit. So make sure to stay all the way through here. So Bitcoin on the weekly chart. I think the most important fact here for Bitcoin is that we have fallen through, let me grab an arrow here, that we have fallen through the 50-week moving average, and this is on the weekly, right? So the 50-week moving average is this small teal line here, and that was our support since the beginning of the bull market, decisive beginning of the bull market, when we sliced through it here. And then we bounced off of the 50-week here, and then we did it here, and then we hoped we were bouncing off of the 50-week moving average here, but we did not. We sliced through it and had actually a pretty nasty correction here for Bitcoin. And if we are coming up from the all-time high all the way down to the correction low, and then it was about a 26% drawdown, which it's not really something that massive, right? I mean, also here this was a 30% drawdown altogether. The only thing is that this sliced through it, but did not close the weekly below the 50-week moving average, right? So there we have major difference through the other corrections, or with the other corrections, and that is that we have lost this 50-week moving average. And that is the argument of the bears, the main argument why they say the cycle is over, right? And we do still have it marked in here. We have marked this line is the Bitcoin top, which we marked. Why did we mark it? Just to recap, not because I'm some kind of genius or so and can call the Bitcoin tops, but rather because of the 500 days from the halving rule. By the way, this halving seems to have gone out of the, where was it? The halving was somewhere here, right? It was in April. something here, right? So 500 days from the halving to this would be the 500 day. You sell 500 day after the halving and you buy 500 days before the halving rule. That would have put the top in here. Now, the real top was a little bit later than that, which was our all-time high in October. But all in all, that would be the marking of the 4-year cycle. Now, the big discussion is right now that exists is we do have a 4-year cycle, and that's it, right? And besides that, we really don't need arguments because there is only the 4-year cycle. That is the argument of the current bears. And then the 50-week moving average loss is basically the second argument that they have right now. One argument for me, well, I'm coming to the chat in a second, but one argument for me that to look at is that I said for myself, if the TSI crosses, and the TSI on a monthly, right? If the TSI crosses after hitting this upper trend line, then that's a bear market, right? Confirmed. Now, the month did not close yet, so what we see right now is a cross. But if we were to recover in the next 2 weeks, 100,000, for example, this is not closed, right? And this is what we need to be very careful, because these indicators, if they are observed on a monthly, we need to have the monthly close happening to confirm this, right? So if we were going to 100k, back to 100k, this looks like this, right? Then it doesn't close. So, but if we were to close on this level right now, then we do have ourselves a bear cross, and then I would say we have a bear market in front of us. The question is how long, right? And you see, right, sometimes it's not that decisive, so you really need to right, very close call, right, for a bull cross, and then boom, the real bear market going on, right? The real bear market still in action. So let's wait for confirmation on this. As far as we are concerned, the bears do only have the win of this moving average, right? And what needs to be, and this is something that we need to discuss a little bit also, is if bears say, it has been the cycle, it always has been a 4-year cycle, right? Always has been a 4-year cycle. I mean, you see it here, top 4-year cycle top, exactly called, right? October 4-year cycle top. Then if you are one of these bears, you have to ask yourself, what about the other things that always happen in a 4-year cycle, right? Where is the euphoria that always happens in a 4-year cycle, right? Why didn't we have the euphoria of always in this 4-year cycle? Where is the altcoin season in the 4-year cycle, right? In the past 2 cycles, we had an altcoin season. So you should say, if this always like this, then where is the always altcoin season that we have, right? It didn't really happen. Even like the biggest ones like Solana and Ethereum either barely or did not make it any new all-time highs, right? So if you're a bear, then think about that. If you're a bull, we have to think about why the fuck did the other, if it's a bear, right? If it's a bear market, why the fuck did the other indicators not hit, right? I mean, you look at pi cycle indicator, you look at RSI, right? I said I want to see the RSI go up here, like in the other cycles. Look at this RSI. It barely went into an overbought mode. So if that is true, then my next thought is, okay, so let's say this is a bear market. We are 21% down from the all-time high. So what would we expect? That we go, if this is a bear market, we go back to the 200 week moving average, which is this teal line here, right? This line. that's a 55% drawdown altogether, and from where we are, only another 40% or so, right? So should we, because there was no mania, no parabolic phase, no overbought scenario, should we then assume that if we drop into a bear market, there's also no oversold scenario, right? So should that mean we don't go into oversold? Well, that would be a very shallow bear market. It even would not, it would barely take out the previous high, which is absolutely in line with other bear markets, because that 200-week moving average, assuming that we crash down here within 6 months or so, would be sitting just at 56 to 60,000, right? That's where we would expect then the next bear market low, 60,000. I would not complain about this because I want more Bitcoin, but who knows, right? The problem here really is the non-euphoria, and that we from it's always been like this. We lost something for sure, right? For sure that we need to assume. Okay, now let's go into a little bit what is going to happen here, and then we assess more, right? What we do have now is extreme fear, okay? And in the fear and greed at 95,839. We're now sitting at 95,000, so even a little bit lower than that. Extreme fear. There has never been a bull market that ended on extreme fear, like with the fear and greed. We didn't really have any of euphoria, so, and it shows here, right? This, we even went to 9, and the last time we went to a fear and greed index of 9 was in the bear market of 2022. So these fear and greed index levels, they scream that we should have a bounce here and we should go higher. And by the way, even if this is a bear market start, there should be a bounce at some point, because usually you do have some kind of a relief rally. The question is only when, right? But I would say before November end, I would not really call a bear market here. I would not call a bear market here, and we will see why. Okay, what's coming up in this week is insane, right? So today we have the US government reopening. Congratulations to all US citizens. You have just passed the longest government shutdown in history. After, in the other Trump administration, having 35-day shutdown, I think this one was somewhat like 45 days or something like that, right? So it's government is reopening. That is important because the market was partially flying blind because of the US government shutdown. Because during US government shutdown, for everyone else who is not in the US, you don't get a lot of economical number, like unemployment numbers and some other really important numbers. So that adds to uncertainty. And markets hate uncertainty. Nothing more, markets like the certainty of an absolute crisis or war or whatever, but the market knowing, okay, that's it, against not knowing what's going on, right? So not knowing what's going on is worse than knowing for sure this is a crisis, okay, for the market. Tuesday, we will have Fed liquidity injection of 10 to 20 billion. Let's see how much, because it's not that much, but we will see what the effect is, right? On Wednesday, there's an FOMC meeting. We always know that this influences prices, right? Thursday, manufacturing data. Okay, so this is important because the data, there was no data in the last 45 days basically coming out. Friday, US inflation expectation. Now, the market really dislikes that inflation has slightly gone up again to 3%. So this is something else. Okay, so the claim here is the biggest bull run in history starts tomorrow. and I would say I would refrain from claiming that, but I'm also not saying that this can't happen because of various reasons I will show during the stream, right? That there is an argument to be made, such with the same likelihood as we've just started a bear market. There is an argument to be made that we have just exited a bear market, right? Okay, so let's see the chat really quickly. Chris Klein, hello sir, glad I get to catch a live stream today. Smash that like, share with family and friends, subscribe, bell notification icon set to all. Okay, thank you very much for the shout out here. And yes, please do that if you like these streams, even though it didn't occur so frequently. Then please smash up the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are still here. We are still informing what's going on. We do have G-Money in the house. Good morning to you, G-Money. Our rare hodler here in the house. We do have Floki's Angels. Hello, sir. Love your show. Been watching with Chris Klein for about a year now. Whoa, what's going on? The Floki crew is in the house. Yeah, so welcome to you. I hope this turns out very well for Floki still in the run, but we will see in a second why this could still be a massive run. JW, good morning. Well, not that good when you check your wallet. Is there still hope for that? I would say yes, but we need to assess first if there's hope for the cycle, right? Hello, PH. Hope you're well. Hey, Stu, what is going on? Good to see you as well. So, yeah, we're set to look into some cool stuff. Okay, so here we have Raul Pal, one of the defenders of the ISM theory, and or he brought it up, I think. So let's read this post quickly. Okay, so I think this week the Fed's hand will be forced to tweak the plumbing to avoid a month-end and year-end funding crisis. Crypto is currently trading like a stressed funding vehicle reflecting the broken plumbing, while stocks are cushioned by buybacks and performance chasing for now, but risk a repeat of 2018-19 if not solved immediately. That was some nasty stock market drawdown. It's clear the Fed are concerned, hence the meeting with the banks and NY Fed to understand why the SRF isn't being tapped enough to resolve this. The fear from markets and the Fed is rising. The bigger battle is that the Treasury now wants control over liquidity via the banks. Increased lending helps Main Street? I don't know. Versus the Fed QE. This allows fiscal and monetary policy to align under the key goal of targeting stimulus to. I assume this is Main Street, okay? But correct me if I'm wrong. Still allowing for Wall Street, yeah, ST here, right? Wall Street to benefit from debasement, which increases collateral values. QE doesn't leak into Main Street. Liquidity management is now a political game, not a monetary policy game. In the end, it's all down to the everything code and the economic gravity of financing debts, but politically in a way that doesn't hurt Main Street as much. Trump needs to win midterms. Exactly. So this is very important. Midterms coming up. That's the optics, but the reality is it's still debasement, smoke and mirrors. I'll write this up in the detail RV Pro macro this week. This week will be volatile until this is solved. The big fix is ESRL changes, which are now becoming more urgent as the key source of financing the deficits and driving liquidity in the future. Not sure when they ramp up communications on that, but interim fix via repo SRF is very close to being unleashed. You can hear the cowbell in the distance getting rapidly louder and closer. That will usher in the 2026 cycle extension as 7 trillion of interest payments need to get serviced. And this is part of the argument of that this is the beginning of a bull run, and we will see more, right? Hunter Horsley, he is Bitwise CEO. He says, we will talk about 4-year cycles, but the reality is, or we talk about 4-year cycles, but the reality is that model is based on a bygone era of crypto. Since the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs and new administration, we've entered a new market structure. New players, new dynamics, new reason people buy and sell. I think there's a pretty good chance that we've been in a bear market for almost 6 months now, and are almost through it. The setup for crypto right now has never been stronger. Okay, so the theory here is that this was a bear market, right? All of this basically, from when we hit these highs in November 2014, which would be now a year of basically sideways. We didn't go anywhere within a year. So that would mean that if this was a bear market, then we haven't seen anything like except 2 drawdowns in this bear market, right? I slightly disagree on this, because the bear market until now was characterized by drawdowns like this, right? Absolute nuke in the market, 77% drawdown. But I would assume maybe there is something that is, I mean, theoretically you could argue that in this cycle, for example, this all was a bear market, right? Since these tops here. And then we collapsed, right? So the question is, and this is something that I ask myself as well, what if both are right? What if both theories are right? The bears are right here, and the other ones are right as well, with regards to liquidity and the ISM, just as, let's say, they take, for the stimulus to hit, it takes them, let's just say, until mid of 2026, right? And in that time, until June 2026 or so, we go 55% down to this moving average. We have our bear market, more shallow, and then the ISM and everything picks up and we go into full-blown degeneracy mode and massive bull market from there, right? So very short drawdown like here. How long was that? This one must have taken from up there down to the lows. It was exactly 365 days, 1 year of bear market, right? So this is also something, and no one knows. If you're watching someone who claims they know, they are gambling on that their channel will increase massively if they catch something right, and if they don't, no one will know, right? So it's like the crash profits, right? It's like crash, crash, crash. At some point they will be right. Yeah. Let's go back to exactly. So okay, so this is the 4-year cycle theory. So the business cycle is driving Bitcoin, right? So this is from Raoul Pal, and let's just listen to this quickly. And so here we also have the picture, right? Let's put it this way so you can see it, right? So this is the ISM here, and in the other cycle, the ISM was just in a 4-year cycle, in a liquidity cycle, bouncing around, and then you have the Bitcoin adjusted pricing overlay. So basically the Bitcoin's price changes, right? So listen to this.
Bitcoin is basically, this is a detrended Bitcoin, and it's basically the ISM, which is the business cycle. Remember, we've always said it's the business cycle stupid. It is always the business cycle stupid. And all of these people who claim it's the 4-year cycle based around this and that, they don't understand the fundamental of what the business cycle is, why there's a 4-year cycle in everything. And we've explained it. We'll go through it in great detail tomorrow.
Okay, just quickly, right? And I think this is super important what he just said. Like, people don't understand the fundamentals that are driving the cycle. That's the claim, right? Everyone who calls for a bear market based on a 4-year cycle doesn't even provide an explanation for why this should be going on, right? So you can't just say, yes, there is a 4-year cycle, but I cannot tell you why. I mean, that would mean that we need to go out and flee Bitcoin as fast as possible, because that would mean that there are no fundamentals at all driving the cycle. That would mean that there's just that would also mean that all participants are putting in money and pulling out money like a zombie on a 4-year clock, right? If you think about it, just the argument of a 4-year cycle for the 4-year cycle's sake doesn't make sense. So the other argument was it's because of the halving. But we have seen this cycle that we front ran the halving. by a lot, right? It just pumped into the halving. Okay, so let's continue here.
In our Everything Code presentation, but basically it's following the ISM. And rates have been following the same pattern. You see, rates should have come lower. They need to come lower because we need to roll the debt.
Okay, so this is the US 2-year bond yield that he compares to the ISM now, right? So it follows this as well.
We've talked about this. That's part of the Everything Code, fundamental part. And ISM, because rates are so high, has meant that Main Street has been screwed while Wall Street's made money from debasement. Earnings versus scarce assets. This is the issue that they need to solve, and they need to get rates lower. They get rates lower. Why? Why do we have an elongated business cycle that looks like virtually no other real other time? It's because, and I only just found this out redoing the work on the Everything Code recently, is that in 2021-22, they actually extended the maturity of the debt from 4 years to 5 years. So that extension of the maturity of debt has pushed out the business cycle a year. The 4-year cycle this time around is a 5-year cycle. We don't know what the next one will be until we see where they all end up getting refinanced.
Okay, I think this is the most interesting thing, and he's one of the only ones that claim this. I mean, he puts in this as source, LSEG data stream. I mean, if I couldn't really find evidence until now for this, but I trust that someone who's managed a hedge fund like since 20, 30 years has its ways to get to the information. So if the debt is extended, like debt rollover of the US government is extended from 4 years to 5 years, and it was 4 years before, and the debt rollover happened every 4 years, refinancing the debt with fresh liquidity, then of course you have a liquidity-driven cycle that is a 4-year cycle. If it's now extended to 5 years, it would be very interesting to see, and that would support the claim of we're just going now into a bull market, because that would, if the 4-year cycle is extended by, or this liquidity cycle is extended by 1 year, then that puts us into the bull run year coming up right now. And that would also explain why all the indicators are still signaling bull run should continue. Yeah. And the drawdown and the sell-off we have based on a 4-year cycle is obviously because everyone that follows the 4-year cycle trading is rightfully selling off at the date that they set themselves. But if this is true, then we need to, if you believe that the 4-year cycle is true, then you need to be out of by now already, right? If you believe that something else is driving the cycle and it could be this, then we need to go in and maybe even buy the dip. Okay, so these are the two theories, and no one knows for sure. I don't know, you don't know, but this could be something. Okay, so let's continue listening.
Whether it comes back to 4 because they managed to get some stuff at the long end, or whether they shorten it because everything's in the short end, we don't know yet. But this one is a 5-year cycle. And this is what it looks like. A 5.4-year sine curve. 5.4 years is the exact average weighted maturity of the debt. And it tells us the ISM should peak by 2026.
Okay, so this would mean by the end of 2026, we are in ISM peak cycle. And the government has to act now to inject liquidity so that the business cycle can go up, just like here. And by the way, look at this crash in the ISM in 2020 of the pandemic. It was exactly where markets crashed, and then the ISM got fueled by this massive liquidity injection. And look how it pumps. And if you go to Bitcoin, it's exactly where Bitcoin pumps, right? So there is a huge argument to be made that the government needs to do something about the business cycle, and that when the business cycle picks up again, also crypto and altcoins and everything takes off again. And that will be my bet. That will be my bet, to be honest. rather than, of course, if it goes lower now, I'll just go into positions, increase positions of some of the altcoins that I see real value in, and of course Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, yeah, stuff like that, some smaller altcoins. But for me, that will be it. The bet is here for me, not on whatever 4-year random cycle.
I think liquidity probably peaks before that, as the rate of change of ISM changes and the rate of change of liquidity changes. Our best guess remains well into 2026.
Okay, so that means we can shove our indicators up our ass, because because if that is true, then we will hover around here of the RSI and so on, right? It's crazy. Something is different, and this is the funny thing. Is like we can make fun all along about this time is different. It's already different, because either you had a cycle without an altcoin season, that's different, and without indicators flashing, or you have a longer cycle and that is different, right? But it's definitely something's off, something's different, and we need to relearn the game. Yeah. Hey, Trucking Hank, good to see you. Yes, Omi, and I will talk about Omi in a second. I just want to highlight that Jim Cramer just says we entered bear market territory. that is the biggest bull signal of all times, right? I mean, inverse Cramer is always right. Okay, so here's the summary. There are only 2 indicators for the cycle to be over: the 50 MA and the end of 4-year cycle. There are more than 20 why it's not over. Cycles depend on the business cycle. S&P 500 all-time high, gold all-time high, M2 at all-time high, death cross that always doubled the Bitcoin price within 6 months following a cycle. None of the 20 bull run top indicators has hit. There was no euphoria. More rate cuts are coming. Government shutdown just ended, which pumped Bitcoin for 6 months straight last time. 10 ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs, right? Okay, they had like the biggest outflow in history, but anyways, 12.5 trillion retirement funds integrating Bitcoin. Altcoins extremely oversold. Fear index is at 10, extreme fear, which always marks the bottom. Overall, only 2 micro indicators would speak for a top, but all the indicators, both micro and macro, speak against it. Okay, so I would add, if we close, and it's not done yet, but we can add a third one to this, to the bear, and that is the TSI. But it's not done yet, so we don't add it there. Just to keep that in mind, right? Bitcoin after a death cross. We just had a death cross for Bitcoin. Death cross usually is bullish, because death cross is such a lagging indicator that usually that just marks the end. The death cross doesn't really show death, but rather marks the end of the downturn, right? If there's a death cross. So 1 week after the death cross, in most cases, we are either slightly red or green already, right? 2 weeks after, same scenario, only that in many cases the green is a little bit stronger. 3 weeks after, you will see a bigger portion of red, in some cases 20% up. But we see it gets more and more green by 3 months, right? I'm not going to read out everything, but you see it 3 months after, in most cases, we are 30 to even 100% higher, right? So we see that with almost an overweight, and you can see either or, right? Either or. Sometimes we are 40-50% below, but usually after death cross, in many cases we are 30 to 100% higher after 3 months. If you look at the average, it's 0.25% 1 week later, 2% higher 2 weeks later, and also 3 weeks later, 0.6% higher 1 month later, but then 15 and 26%, and then 30, 50 and 85% higher after 1 year. So let's see. Good to have CMC back. Yes, man. Okay, so where was I? Quick excursus. last week I was in Miami. So I had no I have no setup. I had no real thing. I was even trying to get a video out and stuff like that. It just didn't work. Too much to do, right? So I've been traveling a lot. I will travel a little bit more in November, but definitely the worst phase of me not coming online is hopefully over. First wedding and then all this traveling, right? I've been to Poland, I've been to Miami. So and I will be visiting the US more in the next year. So there will be always a time, because some people ask me, "Hey man, are you alright?" Yes, I'm very fine. I'm perfectly fine. I'm happy. But there is only so much you can do in one day, right? And unfortunately, I had to cut back on the Crypto Morning Coffee and videos. But that should not be a perma scenario, right? I mean, I think this was the worst phase. This was basically a CMC Crypto Morning Coffee bear market. We're not online, not discussing with you guys, but this shall be over, right? So I will be traveling here now and then, but I want to keep you updated. And quite frankly, right now is the time to be updating, right? I mean, we have been sideways so long before. There was not really much to be updating here for crypto, right? So let's keep this in mind. But I'm happy to be back. Let's quickly look at this here also. I don't know if you've seen this, but the finance minister of Luxembourg announced a Bitcoin strategic reserve, basically. And he's super cringe. I mean, I cringe so hard. But anyways, let's listen to this.
We do not just promise, but we deliver. Our sovereign wealth fund, investing 1% of its assets in Bitcoin, is not an announcement to seek attention. It's already done. And while the fund's investment policy allows for an allocation in any crypto asset, it has chosen to invest only in Bitcoin. Thank you.
Okay, so no altcoin treasury. Who would have thought, right?
Because, as Michael Saylor once said, there is no second best. And
this is so. Look at his facial expression. He was like, I'm citing Michael Saylor, and he was expecting another hype here, right?
Best.
Look at his face.
And we're in it for the long haul. And let me be clear, Luxembourg hodls.
There you go. You have you have the meme, not the meme, but the cheesy phrase bonanza here.
Hodls. We are still early.
Luxembourg hodls. We're still early.
I'm sure that others will soon follow our lead. As Minister of Finance, I meet with companies and financial institutions from all over the world. Digital assets are a topic that is high on everyone's agenda. Also, to set the context, I would like to tell you a little bit about Luxembourg. Not to give you a sales pitch, but to give you the facts. To explain why my country cares so much about the future of global finance. We are the world's leading cross-border...
Okay, anyways, this video is over. So Luxembourg is going into that, and there's more bullish news here for Bitcoin. It's funny because no one cares anymore. Like, Bitcoin price is down, no one cares anymore about bullish news. I mean, Harvard just has it like what is it? $500 million endowment in Bitcoin ETF, right? So a lot of these things are happening, and no one really cares because the price isn't up, right? If the price was up, they would do it, right? So Harvard increased Bitcoin exposure 237%. They now hold 442.8 million, half a billion. Is that not much? Yeah, but for Harvard, that's really impressive, right? So adoption is moving forward, right? Let's see here. Chris Klein says, yeah, I was kind of wondering what was going on. Glad you're good. I believe you told me last year that your Thanksgiving is a little different than ours. Well, I believe you call it harvest. Yeah, so our Thanksgiving, like basically Thanksgiving in Germany is not a big deal. So we don't have this Thanksgiving where all the family gets together and so on in Germany. It's called thanking the harvest, and it's something that happens in churches and so on, where farmers are bringing like a little share of their harvest, and they put it in front of the altar, and they assemble like something that is called a harvest crown, stuff like that. But I think if you're not in the church, you don't even realize it's going on. So many people don't even know about this anymore, right? Even in Germany. So maybe there are some Germans listening to this that is like, what the fuck is he talking about? But you can see it if you go, if you visit different cities at that time. You sometimes see also in the city for example, I was in Leipzig before, which is a city in Germany, and they had like this harvest crown put on a well, right? So there you could see it, or they have pumpkins everywhere and so on, stuff like that, right? Anyways, that is a little bit of a difference. So I don't know, maybe this has to do with the immigration history of the US. I can only theorize here, but maybe some part of Germany or other Europeans that gave more value to this, they made it a big deal in the US, that Thanksgiving, right? I kind of figured you were on holiday or something. Yeah, I was first I was on holiday, and then I was on business trips. So that just super unfortunate tied one to another. Like from beginning of October straight until middle of November. Right now, I was just everywhere in the world. I was in Brazil. I was in the US. I was in Poland. I was everywhere, right? So yeah, but not to worry, because if I would stop anything on my channel, I would let you know, right? And I'm not planning on doing that, by the way. Anyways, here's another one quickly.
Cases, and just the ease of which regular folks, people who go to Walmart, there are 150 million Americans who use Walmart online or in person every week, can now actually have crypto in the very same app. They can buy it, they can hold it, they can store it, they can trade it if they want, and then when they want to go pay for something, they can turn it into cash, and like we said, go OnePay is actually integrated into the checkouts of Walmart. So it is, I think, a milestone in that case, Carl.
All right, Hugh, thank you.
Okay, so this is just a quick reminder of, OnePay Cash here, right? So there was OnePay Cash. So OnePay Cash is not directly from Walmart, but it's one of the payment systems credit cards where you get cash back, especially on Walmart, and you can use your crypto basically. So crypto is being adopted, and the best case scenario right now, also for a bull run, is that crypto is getting adopted everywhere, and people are still bearish, right? Because they don't have this I have money, I can invest and make more out of money feeling right now. And I think this is the time where things ramp up to be explosive afterwards, right? Right now we can see it, right? If we look at gold, and by the way, we had Stu here. Here's Stu's gold prediction. We do see, look at this massive volume, and look at where gold is right now. So gold price doesn't really increase at the moment, still with this massive volume, implying that there are a lot of sellers coming in. That money has to go somewhere, right? So in these times of uncertainty that we just saw with the government shutdown and everything, gold was just massively pumping. And we saw even queues in front of the gold stores. There were photos of queues, right? Where everything while gold is on the highest RSI since 50 years or something like that, right? It's absolutely nuts. I would say we are either at or close to a gold top. Let's put the call sign in here, call out. This was a gold top, okay? Gold top. Maybe it's wrong, okay? But I would say from everything fundamentally where it's looking at, like, you have to see that gold is a traditional risk of everyone's scared, gold goes up, everyone's fine, they sell a gold and move it into other assets, right? So that's basically what you can see. So the last big fat gold top was not even here, but was here, right? So, and this is why I say this could be absolutely wrong, because look, if I'm just basing it on the RSI, you would have maybe called the gold top here or even down here, right? And then it goes another way. So it always can move more. But on the basis of what, right? The question is on the basis of what? So here, where gold went up here is, this is the dot-com bubble, right? This upwards move here is the dot-com bubble. And then it goes all the way up into, and then here, this is this part where it peaks and goes up again is the subprime crisis, right? So gold is, if you want, since the dot-com bubble, only in a massive upwards move with some bumps, right? But here, big fat cup and handle or inverse head and shoulders pattern. But it's not about calling tops or no tops, right? It's more about, what does it tell us if gold goes parabolic? It tells us that investors have no interest in going into risky stuff. Investors want to put their money to safety, right? And the contrary is happening here. In September 2011, something happens and gold goes on a 46% price reset, okay? And whatever happens between 2011 and 2015, and then even until maybe 2018, and then suddenly risk is back, right? And then we have the 0% phase during 2020 or so. I mean, we have this low interest phase here, right? And I think that's where everyone went into real estate instead of gold or anything else, right? Okay, but that said, the entire crypto market, besides Bitcoin, is under pressure, right? And we see it here. We didn't have our cup and handle play out. We didn't get the breakout, right? We said if the breakout was to happen, we would go straight to almost 3 trillion. We didn't have the breakout on a monthly. So, but we also don't have, until now, a trend break, which is good, right? We don't have a trend break yet. We didn't lose this trend line on the total 2, which is the entire crypto market outside of Bitcoin, right? So we're still in this upwards trend, and there's still a chance, I would say, for this to break out to the upside, okay? Now we will observe closely, because if we lose this, altcoins will get massacred, absolutely wrecked, right? If we lose this trend, then I think it's time to think about what's coming next, right? If we lose this, but we're not there yet, and we will observe it. So now let's talk about Ecomy as one of the altcoins that get absolutely destroyed in this downturn, but at the same time has some good news, right? So we had this swing upwards, and we said here that this is nice and it looked like a bull flag, but we want to have this taken out for good, right? And we tried and we didn't do it, okay? So then we got completely wrecked here on this, because from this wick high we went 80% down. This is like as if in a bear market, a complete destruction of what it was. Right now we are coming up on big news, right? 93% move from that low. Okay, what is happening? Kraken is happening, right? So Ecomy is being listed on Kraken. Apparently, so and that is good, right? Very good, because as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, Kraken is available in the US, and it's a big exchange, right? So that would put Ecomy on OKX and Kraken, and it would also make good on the promise for them to have Ecomy listed on more exchanges. So if everything that we heard about the business cycle and so on is true, and there is a bull market year coming up, I think that would be all the right levers to put Ecomy into the position to pump in a bull market, right? Of course, if we are in a bear market right now, then everything gets destroyed, including Ecomy, right? We will see. Someone says sell the news. But here we are back in the 0002. We will see how it turns out. But these were new lows, right? Let's not forget that. These were new lows. We have our whales coming in, right? So our little whale makes them move. So let's observe, right? Let's observe, because the downtrend is not broken, right? Technically, you have also this, right? Bam, the whales are selling here. The downtrend is not broken yet. We did not see any bottom formation in that sense, as we have new lows. So we will see, right? Hey, what is going on? Morning, old friend. Hope you're doing well. Yes, I'm very well. Thank you very much. How does it look on a monthly? On a monthly, we see it also, right? I mean, the volume is absolutely through the roof. The news are very good, right? And also, like for VeVe, this is something else. Also for VeVe, right? I've been looking at this quite a bit. I mean, they're continuing to killing it with brands, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, VeVe is a decon in Las Vegas. So let's see what they have planned. There's an article, apparently, blog article for VeVe at Decon. And even though I'm not talking that much about VeVe, I'm still excited about VeVe. I think they're doing great. They're still alive, by the way, even though they've been called dead since years. So this is happening. Oh, it's actually over already? I'm not. I thought that it was going on longer, but this is 14th to 16th, so it's already over. But nonetheless, let's see. 5-year VeVe party. I hope you guys had a blast, whoever went there for Vegas. Let's see. There is this rare icon. Okay. So was there anything interesting yesterday? Was there anything interesting yesterday? Gary Baseman exclusive signing, Simone Leno exclusive signing, gold and silver redemption window. Can visit the booth during. Okay, so hopefully some people got their stuff. VeVe CEO David Ewan, panel of digital collecting experts from McFarlane Toys. Interesting. With McFarlane Toys and London Police. Okay, so some cool things. I hope some of you were visiting that. I've completely missed that this is not continuing. It was only 2 days, right? But they had some pretty big booth there, bigger than in Auxerre. Darth Vader stands symbol for empires. Okay, crafting requires 10 gems. What can you craft? Eyes of the Empire. So you can craft something there, apparently, with this Vader samurai. Trucking X says, expecting more news from Stacker in the next couple of weeks as productive profit on Spaces. That sounds promising. So I think, yes, with DesignerCon, it's always that it's more art focused, which is absolutely not my thing. But yeah, all in all, I think they're doing very well, right? I mean, you can also look at the Mutascan development. We see that the wallet numbers are still climbing up. Right, so from 66,959, 959, all the way up to another. Whoa, what is that? It's like, that's 1,500 new wallets since September 18th. Non-zero wallets. That's some pretty nice growth curve, though. So something in their marketing is working. Here we see the transactions of the last. Here we see the transactions of the last hour. All mints. So some wallet. This 504F wallet is minting these things like crazy, as well as this wallet. They're just minting. Holy crap! They're just minting the hell out of this drop. Look at this. This is all mints. All mints. It's crazy. Did you get your gold coin? No, I didn't, to be honest. I did not. I thought it's like $50 to produce the gold coin. $50 to produce the gold coin. I'd rather put $50 in MCAT or so. But that's okay. So there's a lot, like a lot of. This is all 1 hour ago. All of this 1 hour ago, this minting. So they are making bank. It's crazy. It's all 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago, 1 hour ago, 1 hour. This is 2 hours ago now. Like, there is the hell of a minting going on. Anyways, guys, for today, that's it. Thank you very much for joining. Smash up the like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned. I will not let that much time pass by again to come online and discuss everything. So let's discuss everything in a little bit more detail in the upcoming live streams. And guys, have a great day wherever you are on the world. Have a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon, and I catch you in the next video or live stream. Have a good one, everyone, and bye bye.